Hey gang, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to cover TPMS sensors. We see a lot of them in the shop that are broken. Other garages, I would assume, I only can assume, right? Mount the tire, they hit it with the bead, they break it. They don't know that they broke it. It's hard to tell. It may be miles down the road before the light comes on. But this is what the sensors look like. They're just, they're plastic. They pull or clamp. Depends on what style you have, clamp style or the pull-in style, into the rim. And when you're putting that tire on, any pressure against that will break it. It'll no longer register the tire pressure and make the light come on. So what we want to cover is the proper way to break down the bead of a tire and mount or unmount and mount the tire without breaking this. It's really just a little step one, step two kind of process, and always pay attention to what you're doing because things can change as you're going. And what I mean by that is when you're mounting the tire, sometimes the tire can spin on the rim and change the position of where this sensor's at. So you always got to pay attention to that. So to start out with, we're going to break it down. And I will tell you, this tire is off of a Jeep. It's got a standard valve stem in it. It does not have the sensor. I didn't have one laying around in the shop to use for this demonstration, but it's the same process. We'll show you start to finish. When you're breaking it down, when the bead breaker is going to hit the tire, if the sensor, which is always where the valve stem is, unless you're dealing with Fords, some of them are banded, and that's a little different ball game. But more times than not, that sensor is going to be where your valve stem's at. So when you're breaking the bead, you always want to keep it either at 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock. So whenever the tire is pushed in, you do not hit it. If that sensor was right here, chances are it would make contact with the bead breaker and you would break it when it comes off. Then when you flip it over to break the backside, same thing. You want to either have it at 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Well, I guess technically you could do the 3 o'clock position here, but you never want to be at the 9 o'clock. When that comes in, if it's here, you're still going to have the potential to hit it. And this old tire is definitely wanting to stick to the rim. So when you flip it, you want to make sure there again, 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock. All right, so it's separated. Once you get the wheel and the clamp to unmount the tire, you're going to put it real close to your duckbill. And what you want to do is you want to be able to pull the bead away from the sensor. So if the sensor's here, we're pulling away from the sensor. The bead is up over the sensor. You don't have any chance of hitting it if you do it that direction. Come back, same position. You're going to slide the tire and the bead, bottom bead, up over the sensor so you cannot hit it. So just like that, the tire is going to be off of the rim. Your sensor should still be good. Now when you're going back with it, you're going to want to put the sensor in about the 7 o'clock position, 7, 8 o'clock position. And then be mindful, you know, if that sensor, and I'll show you for those who are not familiar with it, if that valve stem was pulled through the rim, this whole piece would be located about right there. So if you're one of those guys who likes to throw the tire on to seat that bead, the bottom bead, that's fine, you can do that, but you never want to have that sensor really from 6 to 9 to 3. You always want it to be away from you, much like this. If you were going to throw the tire on to seat that bead, you want the bead to fall down over top of the sensor. If that sensor was at the 6 o'clock, when you're throwing the tire, you could hit the bead and push in on the sensor, and of course that would break it. And then if you're doing it like an old man like myself, and actually use the duck bill, you're going to put that sensor right around that 6 o'clock position. And then as you can see, when that bead falls over the tire, it's going to fall over top of it. There's no chance it could hit it. Same thing when you go back to the top bead. You're going to start that same position. And you see how that rim spun inside the tire just a little bit, but that did not change the position of the sensor enough to matter. But there again, it fell over top of the sensor. It's never pulling the bead into the sensor. And that's the safest way to mount a tire without breaking the sensor. Just always pay attention. If that bead is pulling into the rim and that sensor is in the same area that the bead is pulling against or pulling into, chances are you could hit it and break it. So that's the way we do it. You know, hopefully that helped. If you like that, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, still give me a thumbs up. And while you're pressing buttons, why don't you slide over and hit that subscribe button for me?